Right now, 99% of all transcontinental capital, market trades, and global communications hang by a thread of fragile glass fibers resting on the ocean floor, and they are completely unprotected. What we're looking at is a physical choke point sitting directly underneath the global financial system. Almost every transatlantic stock trade, every military order, and every single intercontinental data transfer relies entirely on these subaquatic lines. $10 trillion. That's the volume of financial transfers running across these cables every single day. Make no mistake, this network is the foundational plumbing for the banking systems of New York, London, and Tokyo. Without it, the modern digital economy simply doesn't exist.
Let's move into Act 1, the fragile spine.
Consider the physical reality of this massive financial conduit. The standard undersea cable is roughly 3 centimeters in diameter. That's literally the width of a standard garden hose. And right at its core are optical fibers that are as thin as a human hair.
It's a terrifying paradox. On one side, you have tremendous capacity. A cable containing just 8 of these fiber optic strands can transfer the equivalent of the entire Bodleian Library across the Atlantic in about 40 minutes. But on the other side, minimal protection. Beyond some galvanized steel wire armoring and a thin plastic coating, there's practically nothing shielding the fragile glass inside from the harsh realities of the deep ocean.
And this vulnerability is deeply historical. Dating all the way back to the 1858 transatlantic telegraph cable, this network has evolved to span 1.4 million kilometers. That's enough to circle the Earth more than 30 times. But the deep ocean remains an incredibly isolated, inhospitable environment. It is practically impossible to continuously monitor, patrol, and defend these lines.
Which brings us to Act 2, the sabotage economy. State adversaries are actively circling these critical nodes, and the threat manifests through what we call gray zone warfare. These are coercive state actions carefully designed to fall deliberately below the threshold of open conflict. Sabotaging an undersea cable aligns perfectly with this tactic. It thrives on ambiguity, it blocks the conventional military response, and it offers state actors maximum disruption with absolute plausible deniability. Just look at the elite deep-sea naval capabilities being deployed right now. Russia utilizes specialized vessels like the Yantar-class intelligence ships carrying submersibles engineered for underwater operations, alongside their Losharek nuclear-powered mini-submarines. Meanwhile, China operates advanced vessels like the Jialong submersible. Make no mistake, these are state-of-the-art military assets entirely capable of tapping or severing seafloor infrastructure at extreme depths. But the most insidious threat doesn't necessarily come from high-tech military submarines. It comes from the shadow fleet. These are commercial vessels secretly deployed for state-directed coercion, operating as nominally civilian fishing and cargo ships. When a commercial vessel happens to drag its anchor across a critical cable, it just looks like an accident. The plausible deniability is remarkably high. By the time the cable is severed and the damage is done, the vessel is already in international waters, claiming simple human error. And we are already seeing this vulnerability being tested systematically. Back in 2008, a cable rupture between Egypt and Italy severely hindered U.S. unmanned drone flights in Iraq. In 2022, a natural volcanic eruption entirely isolated Tonga, proving the catastrophic impact of severed connections. And between 2021 and 2025, we've tracked a clear pattern of suspected shadow fleet sabotage in highly contested regions like the Taiwan Strait and the Baltic Sea. Adversaries aren't just watching, they're actively mapping our response times. The problem is, our response capabilities are remarkably constrained. Trying to execute a repair following a gray zone attack is severely hindered by a global shortage of specialized cable laying and repair vessels. When a line snaps, you need highly specialized diving crews or robotic submersibles. Repairs don't happen instantly. They can drag on for months, leaving critical economic infrastructure dangerously degraded.
This leads us to the ultimate endgame, Act 3, the 24-hour blackout.
What happens to the global macroeconomy when the dark wire snaps? Well, the geographic risk is terrifyingly concentrated. Take Alexandria, Egypt, for example. 80% of all European to Middle Eastern connectivity converges right there, in one physical location. It is one of the world's 3 most critical cable choke points. If an adversary targets a hub like this, the damage isn't localized, it's totally systemic. The immediate financial fallout would be absolutely devastating. High-frequency arbitrage strategies are exquisitely sensitive to latency. Even millisecond delays caused by rerouted data would completely wreck these trades. We'd see an immediate freeze of cross-border capital settlements. The 15 million daily SWIFT transactions that power the global banking system would halt, and the massive data centers powering the AI tools you use every day, which rely entirely on transoceanic bandwidth, would suffer severe bottlenecking. The entire AI trade runs directly through the seafloor. To truly grasp the velocity of this collapse, listen to Steve Malfris at the U.S. Federal Reserve. He noted that when communications networks go down, the financial services sector does not grind to a halt. It snaps to a halt. There's no analog backup plan here. There is no satellite system on Earth capable of handling the $10 trillion of digital weight this network carries every single day. The systemic forecast is incredibly dire. Carl Rauscher of the IEEE calculated the cascading failures across international finance, military logistics, and global commerce. His final conclusion? Such an event would cause a global depression. This wouldn't just be a technology failure. It would be the immediate, catastrophic freezing of global wealth. Which leaves us facing a cold reality. International maritime law is completely inadequate to protect this infrastructure. There are no clear routes for escalation, and certainly no easy ways to retaliate against shadow fleets operating in these ambiguous gray zones. So, I leave you with this question. If the modern global economy hangs by an unprotected thread, who will enforce the security of the dark wire before it snaps?